Howdy. When it comes to Disney live-action remakes, there's this constant disagreement. People will go see these movies in large numbers. But despite their popularity, critics tend to pan these movies. Snow White in particular caused a lot of complaints recently. Yeah, we'll get to that one. At first, I tried really hard to make an even list of both the best and worst remakes. But unfortunately, well, there weren't that many Disney remakes I actually enjoyed. So I'll do a mixture of what I consider the absolute worst, with one or two quote-unquote best. I haven't added every Disney remake, but there's a good chunk of them. On a side note, I bet an old friend might have an interesting opinion on these.
Strider, can we just talk about cereal again?
Oh, why? What's wrong, Critic?
I'm just not a fan of these Disney live-action remakes. I've reviewed almost all of these movies and I felt most of them were just lazy, artistically bankrupt rehashes of the original. They just make me miss the original animated movies.
Yeah, I totally get that, but I do think there's some merit and human warmth to be found amidst the rubble here. Come on, Critic, it could be fun.
Alright, fine. Let's look at Disney's 15-year deep-pantsing of their most cherished movies.
Hey, yeah, that's kind of the spirit. Let's go. Oh, and if you care, some spoilers alert for these remakes. For our first worst choice, The Lion King remake. The Lion King remake is notorious for when many critics finally said, enough is enough. This is bad.
And it was such a relief to see I wasn't alone in disliking this remake. For so long, critics were giving these movies great scores despite no creativity, minimal writing effort, and ugly visuals. But the Lion King remake may be just the most lifeless and bland of them all.
Yeah, the visuals are a mixed bag at best. The backgrounds look kinda realistic, I guess, if you smudge the camera leads in brown. For some reason, to Disney, realistic seems to mean dull browns and grays. And the animals themselves, some critics call them quote-unquote realistic, but I think they're not nearly as charming and beautiful as most real animals. I've met plenty of wild animals in real life, and almost always they're just fascinating to behold.
I love lions and cats, but these animals have no imperfections. There's no life to their eyes, and their movements are robotic.
Oh, hi, Nin.
Hey, Critic.
These CG animals are stuck in this boring limbo because unlike 2D, they can't vary or exaggerate their expressions or even do much comedy. For example, in the original, Zazu was eaten and spat out by Scar. But in the remake, he just looks at him. Woohoo! Another example, Rafiki used to have such vibrancy to his face. Now he just looks lifeless and creepy. Later here, he looks like a crazy axe murderer about to stalk up and kill Simba. Here, he outright jump scares Simba and the audience. Ugh.
That is the face of nightmares.
This CG bugs me because it gives the impression that quote-unquote realistic animals means no personality, which is simply not true.
Look at Chaplin here. Real doesn't have to mean dead-eyed, dull, and creepy. Chaplin expresses so much character in his eyes and movement alone.
Look at my cat Shadow. He can't even walk without making me smile.
Even if you can't intellectually verbalize why these animals don't look right to you, you can probably feel in your gut that they don't look quite right.
I didn't like the songs. In I Can't Wait to Be King, they're not even singing. They're sing-talking at best. And the Stampede has an underwhelming orchestra that sounds like it's from a Genesis game.
I know, some of the most iconic songs now are just sing-talking. Even the highlight song Be Prepared is not actually sung now.
And Be Prepared used to be my favorite song in the movie. Now it's this unsatisfying 2-second sing-talk.
And I gotta mention Zazu. By Jeebus, they made him look ugly. Again, real animals don't look this stiff and blank. This is a bird. This is a bland monstrosity.
Well, there's one in every family, sire. I had a cousin who thought he was a woodpecker.
And his voice. I'm a huge fan of John Oliver. He brims with personality in his YouTube videos. So how did they make him perform so deadpan here? And I have to reiterate a point you made in your review, Critic.
What's that?
Real life Africa has so much beautiful countryside. It's full of varying colors, bushland, and lush trees. Even if it was only set in the desert, real desert looks much more beautiful than this. Look at the real Sahara Desert. Real desert has a deep tinge of orange to it because the ground is literally oxidizing iron. In its own way, the ground is alive. And everything in this movie is just a dull shade of brown and grey. It's an insult to nature. Critic, why are we watching crap move across the screen?
I don't know, but there's also a dung beetle.
Haha! Oh no, the wildebeest are very slowly approaching. No hurry, Simba, at that speed you should be fine. And I just don't feel they show me enough different shades of brown yet.
Dad?
It's lucky the freaking subtitles tell me he's crying. I'd certainly never be able to tell from his lifeless face.
In the original movie, Timon and Pumbaa kinda annoyed me, but in the remake, I actually found them funnier.
I know what you mean. Some of their dialogue is legitimately funny, and their new voice actors Seth Rogen and Billy Eichner work surprisingly well as a comedy duo. They also give us some much-needed levity and humor amidst the blandness.
Every time that I farted, are you gonna stop me?
No, I'm not. You disgust me.
And finally, out here in the forest, the movie actually has some freaking color. Can't Simba just stay out here in the forest where the movie's actually fun and interesting?
Ah, but that would be different, and that is not the Disney remake way.
Oh my goodness, the music swells as Rafiki reveals his stick. Oh, I'm so happy for you, Rafiki, being reunited with your stick. That was well worth interrupting the movie for. Clearly, Rafiki's stick is the greatest high this movie's going to have. Let's move on. And now for a quote-unquote best choice. Snow White.
Get out of town, really?
Yeah, and I really question my decision. Surely I should hate this, because this is by far the most universally hated of all the Disney remakes. Audiences on Rotten Tomatoes liked it okay, but critics on the internet destroyed it.
And nothing of value was lost.
With the internet response it's gotten, I half expected the movie just to be a Disney executive slapping me in the face for 90 minutes. But for me personally, well...
I liked it.
Wait, what?
What?
Yeah, I thought it was compelling. Unlike those other Disney remakes, it was colourful and creative, and most of the songs were really catchy. And I like it goes a new direction with the story.
Honestly, hun, I agree with you. I watched the Snow White remake twice, and I enjoyed this movie. Yeah, there's some awkward, very weak moments, and the CG on the dwarves is bad.
No, it's not bad. It's hideous.
Yes, hideous. Look, there's no denying the dwarves are ugly with a capital UG. And why did they give them so many close-ups anyway?
I know, right? Surely Disney realized they look like dog trash.
Though, you know, aside from the dwarves, there was actually a lot of CG in this movie that I enjoyed more than the other remakes. Unlike the remakes of Beauty and the Beast or Mulan, I appreciate the CG feels animated in its visual flair and colors. Like the animals are a great example. Unlike the remake of Lion King, they don't look bland and emotionless. Instead, the animal CG is cartoony and expressive, which adds to the fantasy atmosphere. Look at this silent scene with Snow White meeting the deer. To me, this is a beautiful, wordless scene in the Enchanted Forest.
I prefer the original forest scene. The 1937 version implied that the dark forest was in Snow White's imagination.
Yeah, I miss that old psychological element too. What did you think of the songs?
I think they're a mixed bag. Rachel Zegler is a talented singer for Snow White. Despite the script giving her nothing to work with, I certainly like her songs a lot more than Emma Watson's sing-talking.
Yeah, I really think Rachel sings beautifully. The villain song though, really stunk.
Yeah, the Evil Queen song was flamboyant, silly, and didn't match the tone at all.
Some people don't like the changes this movie made to the 1937 original, but personally, I'm alright with most of them. Times and attitudes change, and yes, not every change might have been necessary, but inclusivity changes, I'm fine with. As long as she's a good actor, why would I care what skin color Snow White is? They made some changes so she was born in a snowstorm. Who cares? Listen to that beautiful singing. Why does it matter what color her skin is?
I long to leave the walls behind me, waiting on a wish.
And I really liked the story change of Snow White returning to her kingdom to reclaim the throne. Simba did it. What's wrong with Snow White doing it?
Can it just be a simple story, though? In the original, the prince kisses Snow White and she wakes up. They live happily ever after. It gave people what their emotions wanted at the time.
That is true, but in 2025, that's not the ending my emotions wanted. My emotions wanted Snow White to march right back up to those castle gates with the people rallying behind her and take the throne back. Yeah, it didn't make a lick of sense to me that she could win the guards over through kindness, but that's what my emotions wanted to see. I legitimately teared up when the townspeople gathered behind her. That's badass, man. Unlike the remake of Lion King or Beauty and the Beast, the writers are taking a different direction with the story, not just writing the same story word for word.
Well, what about changes like Dopey? That seemed borderline insulting to nonverbal people.
Yeah, I think Disney really fumbled the ball there. In the original 1937 movie, Dopey was permanently mute. Walt never explains why, he just is. In this movie though, he starts mute and then ends the movie not mute because he's not afraid anymore. And yeah, I was very uncomfortable with this change too. As muteness can be a permanent neurological or muscular condition that certainly isn't based on a person's fear. But in fairness, there was an early line in the movie where Snow White asked if Dopey was afraid to talk, which Dopey confirmed. And when I researched, I found that selective mutism is a real condition that is not always permanent, and it can be caused by anxiety. However, the way it's presented just didn't sit right with many people, and I definitely get that.
Snow White's mother fell ill, and the good queen died.
Hey Critic, look out! That leaf killed her!
No, Strider, it's a visual metaphor.
Oh, the songs are a big part of this movie as well, but I actually looked forward to Rachel Zegler's songs. And I have not looked forward to Disney songs since like Frozen 1, and even that's a stretch. I tap my toes to Whistle While You Work, and I really like that song when Snow White returns to the kingdom. And Waiting on a Wish at the beginning was such a stirring melody. Oh, it sent shivers down my spine, it was so good. My friend Danielle's actually learning music teaching at university. What did you think of her singing?
Rachel's actually singing less with her head here and more with her chest, which is more frequently used in musical theater.
Ah, well I really feel the energy of that change. Though again, I could have done without the villain song or the thief song. I like the story changes too. Unlike the Mulan remake, I can actually understand the story and what's going on. Unlike the Beauty and the Beast remake, I really like the color scheme and I enjoy the songs. It's like a fairy tale. When the kingdom is sad, the colors are muted. When the kingdom is happy, you'd swear a unicorn threw up.
This criminal was caught in the scullery pilfering royal supplies.
That's a lie.
Surely he could have hidden those potatoes somewhere else.
Well, where else would you hide those potatoes?
Well, I could suggest some places, but that would definitely take this from being a family movie. Personally, I just don't get how this movie was considered worse than the Lion King remake. I personally think there's a lot of effort and creative direction here. Like, they changed fairest of them all to not just mean physical attractiveness, but instead the person with the most kindness and inside beauty. Yeah, it's simple, but so is the original, and it's a nice message. I'm not going to claim this movie is great. The midpoint with the thieves definitely dragged a bit for me. But for the most part, I had a lot of fun with the Snow White remake.
I'm sorry, Strider, I just couldn't enjoy this remake. I get where you're coming from, and I agree it's better than the Lion King remake, but that's a really low bar to set.
Fair enough, Critic. I get you. I respect your opinion. Our next worst choice is the Mulan remake. This one was generally enjoyed by critics, but this time it was disliked by audiences.
Not this critic!
Oh, I really wasn't a fan either. The only real pluses I could give is at least it's a prettier landscape than Lion King, and the costume designs are colourful and nice. See that desert? That's what a real desert looks like. Look how much better that looks than the grey garbage we got from Lion King. But within 3 minutes of the movie, I'd found the first problem. Mulan as a child is already perfect. A perfect acrobat, incredibly agile, able to save herself with her instant reflexes.
They removed Mushu too!
Did you miss him?
Not really.
Yeah, I never thought Mushu was anything great in the original. And he was unbearably annoying in Mulan too. But at least he added a light-heartedness to the original movie. While here, there's no Mushu to save us from this movie taking itself way too seriously and being as dreary as black coffee.
Yeah, it's like watching a dull war documentary, yet the fights are like a Looney Tunes cartoon where they defy gravity.
Yeah, the tone is all over the place here. And what the hell? They'd skip cutting the hair.
I know, right? That's one of the most iconic moments in the movie. How is it so many of these remakes cut out all the best moments of these movies, yet mindlessly rehash every other plot point?
I don't care what she looks like.
I agree.
I care what she cooks like.
Speaking of which, by Jeevers I felt the length on this one more than any other Disney remake. By the time we finally get to the military camp, Mulan seems to already be an incredibly gifted warrior. But one of the most admirable parts of the original Mulan is she had to work for her skills. In the original movie, she gets up earlier than any of the other soldiers, and she worked ridiculously hard to keep up with them. And when she finally climbed the stake, it's one of the most rewarding victories in Disney history. But here, she's just always better than the other soldiers, because that's so interesting and relatable. How is anyone meant to invest in that? I really liked that the original Mulan was a quirky, shy woman who struggled to conform to her family. But we quickly see that she has a compassionate, gentle heart because she selflessly replaces her father as a soldier, risking her life to do so. The Who I Am song is a gentle melody expressing Mulan's sensitive spirit. And I'll Make a Man Out of You was a really memorable, empowering song. In the original, Mulan could be compassionate, yet still a determined tactician and warrior. But in this remake, she just gets all her powers automatically through chi.
I'd make a joke, but this remake is sapping all my sense of humor and goodwill.
Yeah, I'm kind of bummed out by this thing too. So what's this chi that makes her so superhuman? Well, some Chinese culture believes that chi is the energy in their bodies that gives humans all their strength and mobility. However, someone has to actually learn how to use and manipulate that chi. Mulan can't just magically become an invincible super lady that takes down an army. How is this movie takes itself so seriously, yet is somehow so much more stupid than the original cartoon movie?
The Mulan remake was made in 2020, and boy does it match that year's feeling of being constantly bored, isolated, and exhausted. It's dreary, has no character investment, and no comedy. Mulan is given no character, and I never had a moment of interest in the story.
And whose stupid idea was it to make all these remakes like 2 hours minimum? Do they somehow think kids have gotten longer attention spans in 2020? Let's just make our Disney movies 2 hours, because clearly the TikTok scrolling young people are just totally into longer movies.
Shall we move on then?
Yes, please, let's do that. My next worst choice is the Jungle Book remake. Fun fact, the 1967 Jungle Book movie was the first Disney movie I ever saw at around 4 years old, so it was a movie I knew like the back of my hand. I replayed it continually, and watching it again for this review, I have to admit, it was nothing special. It's basically a fun but very silly movie about dancing animals with a hint of danger from the natural world thrown in.
And let me guess, you thought this remake was a much better, more adult remake.
Critic, I thought this remake was an utter piece of crap.
Oh, thank God, someone else does. This remake got 93% on Rotten Tomatoes. It's the highest rated Disney remake of all. For whatever reason, people were over the moon about this garbage. But I thought the writing was lazy, the story made no sense, and half the dialogue was just exposition. So why didn't you like it?
Well, my first question with this remake was, did it make positive changes to the original? Did they change anything at all? Are they artistically unique? Did I enjoy it? Was it funny? I respect that this remake made changes, but I think the changes are stupid and make no sense. But most of all, the movie looks like butt. It's filled with so many awkward choices to me. And there's barely any human energy to the film, because it's all just Mowgli on set by himself, if any humans are on set at all. Though I think Mowgli's actor really deserves credit for essentially talking to tennis balls by himself on set for hours on end.
The actor for Mowgli did fine, but the film is trying way too hard to be adult. It has no decent jokes, and it's just relentlessly gloomy and dull with a muddled story.
Yeah, there's only so much you can do when you only have one human on set, and every single animal looks dour and dull. There's not a smile to crack, there's no character. It's just one child actor trying his best to talk to tennis balls. Even with all this CG over top, the animal CG just doesn't look right to me. Like just here, when these sky backdrops clash with the animal heads, it just looks hideous. The hell is with that head on the green screen?
Yeah, that CG hasn't aged well on the eyes over 10 years.
People didn't tend to mind the casting choices for this remake, but I felt the casting choices were odd and didn't all quite work. In my opinion, Bill Murray does not work at all as Baloo, particularly compared to the original unforgettable performance of Phil Harris.
I'll tear 'em limb from limb.
I'll beat him out.
Let me interrupt myself. I just gotta say, you guys are so much handsomer in person.
Like, the original Baloo and Mowgli couldn't leave each other alone.
No, you're tickling. I can't stand that tickling.
This Baloo is a self-serving jerk who only wants Mowgli around so he can fetch him honey.
You said they didn't sting. What do you call this?
How the heck did you do that?
There's no human warmth between Baloo and Mowgli, and I'd argue that was the fire of the original movie that everyone remembered.
Christopher Walken played Louie, and I like seeing him play essentially a mob boss in this version. It's a unique take on the character.
Yeah? What did you think of his song?
The song was a mistake. The original King Louie and his team were voiced and acted by jazz musicians, and hearing the original song makes you want to get up and dance.
I want to be like you.
But this song is just unnecessary and tonally deaf to the scene.
You'll see it's true. Someone like me.
I felt the most suitable role was probably Scarlett Johansson as Car. Despite the small role she played, she sounded fantastic. Personally, I always pictured Car as a woman, and her voice here is kind of what you'd hear in an ASMR video, which is very suitable for Car.
Just you and me, sweet thing.
On this point, why is it this movie's colors only go from dull grays to beautiful saturation when Mowgli is seeing Car's vision? Weird. On the subject of songs, the songs of the original Jungle Book were some of the best parts of the movie. It's surprising how much of the rest of the movie was kind of just people screwing around. It was kind of slice of life, you know? There's no strong structure or goal apart from try and get Mowgli to the man village before Shere Khan mauls him, and that's basically just Bagheera and the wolves planning that.
I did like Mowgli creates tools to aid him in the jungle.
I agree, a really good change there, as it helped Mowgli step out as a protagonist, taking control of his destiny in the jungle. And more broadly, it shows part of what makes us humans so special in the animal kingdom, how we survive with tools, intelligence, and tactics to this day. Also, am I alone in thinking this new version of the ending is just awful? I remember seeing this in cinemas like 9 years ago and thinking, that ending was dumb. I mean, spoilers for a nearly 10-year-old movie, but he doesn't go back to the man village. Normally, I'm all for creative changes to a movie remake, but how is this a happy ending for Mowgli? He's spending the rest of his life isolated in the forest with no species whatsoever of his own, seemingly living in a constant delusion where he speaks to animals without any cognitive capacity or frontal lobe for actual speech. At least visit the man village, give it a try, you don't have to stay.
I mean, he wins the wolf race, so happy ending. The whole original story ending was about accepting responsibility for who you are and where you'll grow best, and this one just ignores it outright. 94% on Rotten Tomatoes, people!
It's just dumb. I thought the whole message of the original movie is that change can be hard, but change can also be important. Hell, you could argue the ending of Jungle Book 2 was better than this, where Mowgli regularly visits the jungle but still lives in the man village with Shanti. He can have both. Why not? Alright, I'm just gonna say it. I was more invested in Jungle Book 2, the weak direct-to-video sequel, than I was in the Jungle Book remake.
Wow. That's a bold claim.
Yeah, well, I genuinely enjoyed Mowgli and Baloo getting to say a proper goodbye in Jungle Book 2. At least that had some emotion. This remake is just bleh. And for our next worst, we have the Beauty and the Beast remake, aka Hermione and the CG Monstrosity. Fun fact, in 2017, I permanently stopped watching all Disney remakes in theaters because I saw this movie, and it annoyed me just that much. I mean, holy cow, I am really not a fan of Emma Watson's auto-tuned robotic sing-talking, and the hideous, emotionless look of the Beast. And the crockery. Oh, the crockery. This is by far the ugliest CG of any Disney movie I've ever seen. I wouldn't expect something this ugly from Video Brinquado.
This remake sucks. Erase all the charm of the original movie and add a ton of padding and assure there's no chemistry between the two stars.
I know, right? You'd think chemistry between the Beauty and the Beast would be important in a movie called Beauty and the Beast.
No. Didn't you see? It got 71% from critics and 80% from audiences on Rotten Tomatoes. So clearly, we're the crazy ones thinking it's bad.
I seriously couldn't relate to any other critics I saw talk about this movie except, well, this critic. Because this movie just made me so angry.
The original is a classic telling of a timeless story. This is just a remake. A remake that doesn't understand what made the original story so powerful.
Yet for some reason it was mostly enjoyed by other critics.
You serious?
Anyway, the story starts with a witch casting a spell on a prince.
As punishment, she transformed him into a hideous beast.
And oh boy, do they mean hideous. Later in a nearby town, Emma Watson is cosplaying as Belle for some reason. And oh boy, this is where that robotic singing comes in.
Every day, like the one before, to say,
Oh my goodness!
oh, my freaking ears!
And this singing is like nothing I've ever heard from Disney before. I almost would have preferred they just dubbed over her voice.
Good God, that's singing. It's not quite Russell Crowe bad, but it's the same teacher.
I didn't know how to fully explain why the singing bothered me so much. And let's see what the training music teacher Danielle thought. Thanks for your time, Danielle.
No problem, Strider. I felt the first problem is Emma Watson's voice has been pitch corrected by a computer. Pitch correction removes a lot of stylistic choices and humanity from a singer's voice. To me, she just doesn't sound like a person. Originally, her singing was much more flat, so they lowered some of the songs to fit her limited vocal range. This isn't uncommon to lower songs to fit singers' ranges, but it can take away from what the composer envisioned. I actually would have preferred if they didn't give Emma pitch correction at all. Her own unique performance would have sounded more human and likable. By comparison, in characters like Gaston, you can hear the vibrato in his voice. Vibrato is like a pulsating effect used in singing. There's a more varying human tone to it, and there's a lot of great stylistic choices he makes in his singing.
I'm especially good at expectorating.
Huh, I'd never even heard of vibrato before. Thanks, Danielle. Now, I know I'm really hammering this home, but I just want to show you a basic comparison. While I was reviewing this movie in my Discord, one of my community members randomly started singing one of the songs. And I was like, OMG, that actually sounds human. So here's a smidge of Coco singing for comparison. First, here's Hermione singing.
But he was mean, he was coarse and unrefined, and now he's dear.
Now here's a real human being with no training whatsoever singing.
But he was mean and he was coarse and unrefined. I wonder why I didn't see it there before.
Feel that stirring in your gut? That's because you can feel the humanity in that voice. But when we auto-tune everything, I just feel nothing. I'm just gonna call Belle Hermione in this video because nothing against her, I just think that's her best role. I wouldn't focus so much on her, but as Belle, she carries the weight and soul of Beauty and the Beast. Even more so when her partner is just someone in a motion capture costume. We're certainly not getting any emotion out of the Beast.
Will you join me for dinner?
Something I've found is that this Belle simply doesn't have as vibrant a range of expressions. Most of Hermione's expressions seem to be this kind of raised eyebrow, kind of agitated look. I guess it's kind of a WTF look.
I call it her troll face.
Yeah, that works. It was an expression that worked for Hermione because she was a level-headed school prodigy who was constantly looking out for two brash young men. But for a character like Belle, who's meant to be falling in love and melting the heart of a beast, well, it just doesn't work. Her performance is just incredibly stiff. I definitely believed what she said here.
It was literally me sitting at an empty table. It was the most boring scene I have ever had.
Because in a lot of this movie, she looks so bored. Now, we gotta talk about when they use CG in this movie, which is all the time. And almost always, it is catastrophic. Like this notorious character here in 3, 2, 1.
Pretty eyes, proud face.
It's been 8 years since you last saw this wardrobe, Critic. Has it got any less horrifying?
No, it has not.
I've watched this movie 4 times for review purposes in the last 8 years, and every time I see this hellscape of a wardrobe, I yelp out loud. However, there is one scene in this movie I think is actually good. Among a sea of bilge, it is a glowing highlight. I think Gaston's song is like the best scene in the movie. They really felt like they had fun with the theatrics here.
In a spitting match, nobody spits like Gaston.
You feel that human energy you feel in theater, like they're egging each other on.
I feel like they got real creative reign on this scene because this is by far the most energetic scene in the entire movie.
Ironically, you take Beauty and the Beast out of the Beauty and the Beast remake and it's actually a better movie.
And that's the main problem. I just never felt any chemistry between these two. In the original movie, even at the beginning of the meeting, you can see the conflict in the Beast, and that he feels bad about her father and he wants to try and make things better. He awkwardly invites her to a nicer room.
I'll show you to your room.
My room? But I thought...
You wanna stay in the tower?
No.
Then follow me.
I can actually see these two growing on each other. In the remake, the Beast feels constantly angry. Hermione literally says she'd rather starve than eat with him.
I'd starve before I ever ate with you.
And the way she says it actually sounds like she means it. Their relationship just isn't believable to me after a line like that. In the original, there was a hint of warmth and petty quarreling to their arguments, and that was very important.
You'd hold still, it wouldn't hurt as much.
Well, if you hadn't have run away, this wouldn't have happened.
If you hadn't frightened me, I wouldn't have run away.
Which made them coming together actually seem possible and kinda cute. Even the remake's dancing looks robotic. Go to any dance school. When you see two people dancing, it can show incredible chemistry and even sensuality. But Hermione is just so uncomfortable here. Like, even bad dancers have more chemistry than this. Like, look at these two dancers. This is a picture of Nin and I dancing at our wedding.
Yeah, I agree. Emma just stares blankly at the Beast and they dance uncomfortably. Even in these still shots, there's a lot more chemistry and affection between you two.
Thanks. Maybe in a technical sense, this is a more interesting movie than Mulan's remake, but by Javers it annoys me more, so I'm calling this the second worst.
That's a fair ranking, I won't disagree with you on that one. This is a lifeless, cynical rehash of a classic, beautiful Disney movie. He clearly had no idea what made the original Beauty and the Beast so special.
And for my #1 favorite remake, we have Aladdin.
You gotta be kidding me, Strider. Aladdin is your favorite remake with that flat lead, the awkward CG on Will Smith as the genie, the wimpy version of Jafar. I did not like this compared to the original at all.
Yeah, I gotta disagree with you on this one. I rewatched all these remakes, and Aladdin was the only one that had me laughing and completely invested the whole way through. I thought the vast majority of changes they made were fresh improvements. Don't get me wrong, I loved the original Aladdin, and I rewatched it till the damn tape broke as a kid.
How many times do I have to kill you, boy?
But the remake is really good on its own merit in its own way. And yeah, once again the two parties were split. The critics hated it, but the audiences really enjoyed it.
Okay, then help me understand. Why did audiences like this remake?
Well, I think it's all about the small creative changes they've made here. You're right that there are multiple flaws, but there's this enthusiastic, goofy Bollywood vibe to this whole Aladdin remake. It never takes itself too seriously. So Jafar's hilariously wimpy portrayal falls in the so bad it's good category for me. I just couldn't help cracking up every time this guy came on screen.
I could be a valuable ally to help you get what you want.
I could be a valuable ally to get you what you want.
This Jafar is about as intimidating as Steve from Blue's Clues in Arabic culture. His expressions are more like that of a child saying, "I'm not cleaning my room."
You see, I was once like you.
You see, I was once like you.
It's not very intimidating, is it?
No.
I also enjoy that they give us a light taste of Indian culture, while still staying similar to the original material. Like you mentioned in your review, Critic, we're shown a lot of Agrabah's culture and people here. I feel like I'm stepping into a real world when I see this. I can't call this a lazy remake because there's so much effort put into each set. Look at all the tiny details in the Arabian marketplace.
Yeah, but they also rushed through important story beats, like what happened to the story's first scene at the Cave of Wonders. They basically skipped the whole thing, and that establishes the story's mystery.
Yeah, I saw you mention that in your video, and I personally just didn't miss it that much. I like the storytelling beginning of the original, but this remake is prioritizing different story beats.
I think Jasmine performed well, but I found Aladdin's performance very uninvested. What'd you think?
I guess his awkward performance worked for me because I picture Aladdin as a socially awkward thief. In both movies, he's a slum thief trying awkwardly to adapt to royal culture. Plus, I'm also socially awkward in my society, so it's relatable.
What are you doing?
I'm just making sure the water is a good temperature.
Why are you not over there?
And this more soft-spoken Aladdin works in scenes where he's trying to sell himself to the Sultan as Prince Ali.
We have jams.
Jam?
Jams. Yam jams. Fig jams.
Yam jams.
And this movie knew that no one would ever replace Robin Williams. So Will Smith gives his own personal, unique, charismatic version of the genie. And I like Will Smith, so this version of the character fascinates me. My friend GeekToons also saw this remake, and I thought he made some really good points on it. Hey GeekToons, how you doing?
Hey Strider, thanks for having me on. My siblings and I watched Aladdin a lot growing up. It's close to my heart, so I was curious about the remake, and in the end, I do find that it has a few merits when comparing it to the original.
Yeah, I agree, there's actually parts I liked better than the original.
Yeah, for one thing, there were some nice cultural touches to the remake that I appreciated. Like they brought on so many actors who can replicate Arabic speech, the Sultan being a good example. Even Will Smith captures the Arabic language quite well. Rather than being a shot-for-shot remake of the original, this one takes a new approach to its storytelling.
Okay, but the CG with Will Smith as the genie, surely we can agree that looks horrible.
Yeah, I can't defend that one. The blue CG on the genie just doesn't quite work. Apart from Blue's Clues Jafar, this is probably the biggest flaw in the movie. Rather than the CG, I was paying more attention to the expanded chemistry and friendship between Genie and Aladdin.
I like this too. Throughout this movie, you do believe that the two end up forming a friendship out of camaraderie. As much as I love the original, their friendship felt a little less organic. I enjoyed the unique take on other characters as well. The guards having actual personalities was a shake-up I enjoyed, and the Sultan's no longer just the oblivious father, like in the original.
Rather than his character being purely a friendly, gullible guy who plays with toys, in the remake, we see his protectiveness is due to him losing his wife, and he's scared of losing Jasmine. And crazily enough, the Sultan actually feels like a sultan.
Jasmine has a much bigger role too, and with a lot more lines and comedic moments, it really feels like her and Aladdin have a bond that grows throughout the film.
And unlike the Mulan remake, she doesn't just feel like a cliché, strong, empowering stereotype. She feels more like a real person. For example, in the beginning, she and Aladdin actually team up for the Street Rats song. They're running away together.
I think it has a severe disadvantage not being animated. So much momentum, character, and likability is communicated through the original Aladdin's animation. This film is just slow paced and flat by comparison.
Huh. Fair point. What did you think, GeekToons?
I of course like the energetic animation and fast-paced visuals the original sported. And like you said, obviously the live action can't match that. So the team instead pushed further with the live action strength, giving more detail to the body language and social interactions of the characters. Here, the actions speak a lot with their eyes. An exchange of glances or a nod of the head can be a funny interaction. Both the original and the remake are telling different stories and trying to use their medium strengths to their advantage, which you can see plain as day here.
I guess that's the guy.
That's the guy.
Yeah, I reckon the live-action remake pushed further with the dialogue than the original. I've watched this remake 3 times now, and I still find myself chuckling at some of Aladdin and the genie's interactions.
You look very serene.
That's a curtsy, not a bow.
I'm afraid I'm unfamiliar with Ababwa.
Well, it's
south.
Yeah, but the remake is just not as focused. Many parts assume viewers have seen the original, so it doesn't have to try as hard to make an impact.
Well, even if the movie is relying on us seeing the original, can't a movie complement the original? It's still making people laugh and have a good time.
Maybe, but I feel like a good film should stand on its own and not on the shoulders of the original.
That's fair, but I think we can both agree that we like seeing these remakes try something different. And to me, this remake was one of the most unique takes on the original. It's a more Bollywood-style movie that has brought its own distinctive rendition on the characters and world. And in 2025, a Bollywood Aladdin with good dialogue was just what I needed to see. There's this strong tongue-in-cheek silliness that I thought all the other Disney remakes could have benefited from. Thanks for your thoughts on this, GeekToons.
Glad I could help, Strider.
One last question, Critic. Did you at least like the ending credits scene?
Yeah, I did. The credits dance is energized and captures the Bollywood spirit, but that should have been a bigger focus of the movie. Why was the style kept exclusively in the end credits?
It's a mystery, as I thought that was one of the biggest highlights of the film. The song and dancing gets me excited, and it makes me want to move. Well anyway, Critic, I hope my reasoning for liking this movie made some sense to you.
Yeah, okay, even if I really don't like this remake, I can at least understand why audiences enjoyed it.
And if you think I'm completely off the mark with these remakes, or you've got your own takes on them, feel free to leave your thoughts in the comments below. Hey, thanks to the chat, Critic. You're always a welcome face.
Always glad to help, Strider, till we meet again.
I'm looking forward to it, and thank you for watching. Whether I see you next time or not, I'll be back. This vid took a little longer than usual to make, and thanks to my patron bosses and members for keeping me okay while I finished it. And an extra thanks, of course, to these patrons in the shout out. Excuse me. These patrons include Anna Jones, or Stismic, Angel Angeline, 3 Cat Day, The Furry of Fury, Cookie Monster, Shockwave FPS Studios, Miss Arceus, Noah C, Fluff Paws, been lovely to see you on Discord, Joseph Bowers, Jordan McCann, Chandler Amethyst, Megan Bruns, The Hug Wizard. I finished a Minecraft house, by the way, I made it into a wizard tower. Rayan Graves, Saturn Yoshi, William Johnson, Erdassin, iCosmic, IndieCore 2, Joe Ferry, Mewtwo Shadow FNAF Girl. I gotta quickly show the house I built for you. I turned it into a spooky house. And of course, Check It Omega. Today, I also want to take the time to thank my patrons in the credits too, who do as well a huge amount towards keeping me doing what I love. These kind and generous people include Megumi Mary, Just Some Guy 420, JB Bianchino, Thomas, Double Devello, Bingo from Bluey Fan, Rose Hickenbotham, Sellout, I often wonder if they meant me, Christopher Wolgast, Diamond, Wedgie Comics, ML, Blaze Dutchans, Juzan, Glitterwolf, Javier Wildrons, Casey Bennett, Austin Ostergaard, Random Channel, Phantasmal, Mitsu, Nora Danielle, Pokerfan Alex, Entropy Manor, Pixel Puppy, Freya Fenris, Big Sad, I Like Bees, always love that name, Pre-Cathers, Smeargle3495, Colin Burke, Boquifan, Bethany Dusk, Ned Flanders 44, Nora Nors records some distant memory, Katie and Dalton, hope you two are doing okay, Coin, Brendan Papas, Melinda Williams, Daniel Mercedes, who was a part of this video, Christopher O'Querhart, Stranger from the Outside, Wolves for Life, Brandon Brockhin, Elizabeth Cochley, MC Blob Media, Finris, Flamemaster9, BPTA Goo1, Biark, Mackenzie McKelland, Megumi Mary, Tyler R, Gay Coffee Addict, Cream4XXXX, Luna, Shadow the Bro, Stephanie Mack, Roman Soul, David Schmidt, The Stids, Xerxes Lynx, Mortal Order, Easy Walker, Sand Dinky, Crash Gordon 94, New Timothy 28, Arcade Zeus, Matt Presler, Grant, Gorilla God 420, Connor Penfold, Spencer Rollins, Harmonia ZX, Nightly Song, Comaloida, Slam Jam 00, Dolly Princess Ollie, Victoria Huntley, Sailor Shipper, Choppy Words, Biark again, thank you very much, Aiden Phillips 8, Pixel Dragon 180, Jaden Doizan, James Lacken, Cheese Stick, oh, I wonder if that's a reference to my old IQ of a cheese stick joke. Kevin Bartlett, Miss Kedabori, Owen Roth, and Clark Macbeth, DFL MN. I just really wanted to say an extra thank you so much this month, and as well to my $2 and $5 members. Thank you for keeping the lights on.